Hi, I'm Nicole Roberts-Jones, and welcome to The Fierce Files. Now, what I know for sure is that one of life's greatest gifts will meet you when you go after your more. And so here is why I share with you thought-provoking insight and behind-the-curtain conversations with women who have reached the pinnacle of success because they went after their more. Now, I really want you to get this. One idea from these episodes can make a remarkable difference, not just in your career, but in your life. And I want to make sure you join the conversation in our Facebook group. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com. Now grab your pen and get ready for today's session of The Fierce Files. Hello, everyone out there. Nicole Roberts-Jones here, and welcome to this episode of The Fierce Files. So you know that every episode I bring powerhouse women to you, and of course today is no exception. So today I'm introducing to you Miss Pasha Carter. Now, Miss Pasha went from, get this, NFL cheerleader to multi-millionaire. She took a $500 investment and turned it into a multi-million-dollar empire, and I know you want to hear about that, right? See, Pasha started her career in direct sales at the age of 23. Today, she's an industry legend and one of America's most famous and most influential direct sales leaders, ranked in the top 15 female networkers in the world out of over 14 million women worldwide. She's been featured in Forbes magazine, Influential People magazine, Sheen magazine, Ms. CEO magazine, and Success from Home magazine, to name a few. She has a mission to educate others on the reality of and the choice of true financial freedom by teaching them how to earn more, keep more, and invest more so they can live more. So ladies, please help me welcome Miss Pasha. Welcome, Pasha.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
So excited to be here. And I know you're streaming live on Facebook Live. So hello, Facebook Livers.
I'm giving you a little behind the scenes feel of a nationwide podcast.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, the thing that I think is so yummy is NFL cheerleader. And those of you that have seen Pasha, she's beautiful. But not only is she beautiful on the outside, she's more beautiful on the inside. Right. And so tell us how you made that shift, that moment when you knew, okay, look, this outside is great, but there's so much more to Pasha than this.
Well, you know what? My mom always instilled that in me growing up. So I always knew that. My mom was a very strong woman. She was very active in the civil rights movement growing up. So she always instilled in me that you have to have a purpose and you have to change the world. So if your life, what you're doing isn't making a difference, then why are you here? So she's always taught me that, she fought hard so that the next generation could have more success and have more opportunities. And she always put it on my back and said, now you've got to take what we've done and take it up a notch. So I've always been trained that from when I was a little girl.
But even at 23, it's one thing to be trained in, but then to be young and saying, okay, I'm going to start on this new path. What did you truly, let me say it like this. What did standing in your truth do to your ability to grow in your career and your business?
Well, standing in my truth allowed me to understand that mistakes are okay. People ask me all the time, how did you get to where you are? And it's honestly, because I have failed more than most people. And I'm just okay with that. I've always found that the more you fail, the more you succeed. So I've failed at a lot of different things. I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've made a lot of money and I've lost a lot of money.
Wait, I gotta stop because you dropping so many nuggets, right? I want you guys to hear this. She has failed more than she succeeded, and she's made a lot of money and she's lost a amount of money. And the reason I'm going to say that is because so many people sit in comfort and they never go out and do that big thing that's rumbling in their belly. And you were just dropping so many nuggets about that, right? So before you even go any further, and I know you got so much more to share about being your authentic self, but can you stop for a second here at this little checkpoint and share what in that moment when you fail, when you risk it all to gain it all, what you've really learned in those pivotal moments?
Well, what I really learned in those moments of failure is who I become while I'm down. And that's what a lot of people don't get. It's like, we all have our low points, and Lord knows I have had some really, really low points. Right. And I always ask myself when I'm at that low point, what's the lesson in this? What am I here to learn? Now, don't get me wrong. I would cry and complain and, go through those moments. So I'm human. I would always go through those moments. But after I went through the emotions of whatever that down moment was, it was like, okay, I know there's a lesson in this somewhere. I know there's a reason why I'm here, but most importantly, I already know that I got two choices when I'm down. Either I can get up and fight my way back, or I can retreat. And one thing that I never wanted to do is retreat, because I made a decision from a very young age. I saw both of my parents work very hard for 29 and 30 years. And when my dad worked for 30 years and retired, he would always talk about, after I retire, we're going to do this. After I retire, we're going to do that. After I retire, we're going to, and he had all these plans of all the stuff that we were going to do after he retired. Well, what a lot of people don't know is right about a year after my dad retired, he died of a massive stroke suddenly early on a Monday morning.
Wow.
And he never got a chance to do all of the things that he put off for 30 years. For 30 years, he put all this stuff off because it was all about what we were going to do together as a family once he retired. And that was a defining moment in my life that made me say, either A, I can make it happen at a very early age and go through the ups and downs and live my life in my 20s and in my 30s and all of that, or I could do what my dad did and work so hard for 30 years and give away all my time and all my energy to someone else, only to not be able to experience and really live life.
Right. So in other words, he spent all of his time building somebody else's $1 billion brand, and he never got to build the $1 billion brand that was in himself. And what he instilled in you was like, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to build mine now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. And I also love how you talked about you have two choices. You can get up and fight, or you can give up. At least that's how I heard it, right? And, you know, what people don't realize is in that moment, you know, again, you're dropping nuggets out of the gate. We probably not even 10 minutes in and you're dropping so many nuggets, right? Because in order for Pasha to be able to say she's a she didn't say millionaire, she said multi-millionaire, right? Multi-million-dollar empire. In order for her to be able to say that, I know that you've fallen down and said, this is so hard. And in a moment, you might have thought for a second that you wanted to give up. And then you thought, hold on. I put too much skin in the game, as my husband would say, for me to give up now. Right. And every major person that's ever done anything worthwhile had a moment where they wanted to quit, where it was just too doggone hard. And they chose to stay in anyway. So if you could share like one moment where it looked so dark, it didn't look like there was any possibility that it would get any better, but you decided to stay in anyway. Can you share one of those moments with us and what that looked like and how, you know, like the steps you took to be able to stay in when you didn't feel like staying in?
Oh, Lord, I have so many of those moments. Let me pick one for you. Okay. Those moments when it was dark and I wanted to give up. I'll tell you this because I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also in a profession called direct sales, and it's a people business. And that's one of the things that I really love about it. But it's also one of the things that's most challenging about it is because you deal with a lot of emotions. And a lot of times when you make a business decision, it may emotionally affect people when all you were doing is making a business decision. So one of my most challenging times in business and any network marketer is when you transition from one company and you make a decision, no matter what your reason is, to go to a different company. Right. And for myself and my husband, we were with a company at the time, top leaders, every company that we've been a part of, we've been blessed to crawl our way, plow our way, work our way up to the top. And when you get to the top of a company, what a lot of times people don't understand is, yes, you're at the top, but you're still building a business. And sometimes things may happen that are out of your control, but when you recognize those things that are happening, whether it may be dishonesty or change of a compensation plan, and things have changed for your organization, and you see your leaders no longer having the foundation that you had to make money. You as a leader know that, and you can make a decision. Either A, I'm going to stay here and pretend like everything is okay, or I'm going to make some tough decisions, knowing that those tough decisions that you make are not going to be popular. Right. Because what happens is when a big leader leaves, the selfish mindset kicks in and everybody starts saying to themselves, well, how is this going to affect me? Because if I've said these great things about you and you leave, then it affects my business. And so it becomes this, even if it's people that you've helped, and what starts to happen is you can either A, take the easy route out and say, okay, I'm going to stay and act like everything is okay, which I've seen a lot of people do. And I don't judge them for that, because sometimes for some people it's about, well, I'm staying because, I need to, this is my family. And if I leave, it's hard. And I get that. But for myself and my husband, it's always been, how does this affect the people that are coming behind us? And I would rather sacrifice my entire business. I would rather sacrifice the income that I have to be able to wake up in the morning and feel good and say, I made the right choice, because now I know that what they were walking into was no longer what I walked into. And if I have to make a big girl decision and go and change my direction at that moment, then so be it. And I've done that. My husband and I have done that. We've not only done that once, we've done that a couple of times. Right. And so what a lot of people don't know is, it's just like anything else. You may be an attorney at a law firm, but you make a decision that there may be a better law firm for you and your colleagues to go to, because they may have something better but it has to be better, not just for you. It has to be better for the entire team, because if you make decisions based on you, they're short-lived. But if you make decisions based on how it's going to affect your organization and their families, in my opinion, that has always worked for me. And it makes me feel like I can wake up in the morning and say I did the right thing, no matter how hard the climb is next time.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. And I'm being quiet because I'm like thinking, looking, writing. I'm taking notes. I hope you guys are taking notes because I'm over here writing. So that's good. So how did you even come to that? Because I know you've evolved over time. I'm sure you're like 28 now, right? I'm sure you've evolved.
Yes. I'm going to hold on to that.
Right. So how did you, because I know, especially new in business, when you want to make the decision that's best for your team, but sometimes your team doesn't even realize that's the best decision for them. How do you stay true and authentic to that choice, even in the face of diversity through it?
Well, you lean on the people who understand. For me, my husband and I have always been in business. So through the ups and downs, we've been in business together. We always could lean on each other. I think that is so important, because I see a lot of times spouses get in a business together and they become adversaries. They become each other's competitors versus realizing that, hey, we're on the same team.
Right.
And so my husband and I, when times are challenging, we can always lean on each other. And then we also have that core group of friends and family that we can always lean on and get good sound advice, where it's not advice based on, what someone is going to gain, but really out of caring about our future and the future of our organization. And I think it's very important to have people in your circle that you can go to and they can help you when you need that advice or just a tip.
Right. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, for all the listeners that are wondering, what, tips to working with your husband. We've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So, and obviously you have a great working relationship with your husband. If you could give some insight to what has really made your partnership work, because obviously you work together, you live together, you got, family, you got all kind of stuff. What has been the secret ingredient to making it all work? We're going to stop here for a quick commercial break, and we'll be back for more. Are you ready to live in the true power of your gifts and talents and get paid for it? Hi, this is Nicole Roberts-Jones, and I'm inviting you to join me in a city near you for the Find Your Fierce Experience. Go to findyourfierceexperience.com to learn more. Listen, your fierce is the magic formula that so many successful, focused women just like you spin your wheels seeking, but sadly never find. So you get burned out and give up on the possibility of creating a business and a life that you actually love. But at the 4-hour workshop I'm sharing with you during the Find Your Fierce Experience, you will find the insight and action steps designed to give you everything you need to bankroll your brilliance. So go to findyourfierceexperience.com and see what city near you I'm coming to and grab your seat. I can't wait. An afternoon with me and you, of me giving you all you need to bankroll your brilliance. See you there.
Well, I'll tell you this for myself, for me and my husband. Number one, when we first got together, and this may be long, but I think it's important, and I want to share this. People ask all the time, how is it that you and your husband work so well together? Well, number one, when we got in our relationship together and we first met, we were both in different relationships. And we were at that point where he was dating someone, I was dating someone. And you know how you can be with someone, but feel as though they may be a nice person, they may be a good person, but they may not be good for you. Mm-hmm. And that is where I was. And when Steve and I met, it was one of those things where we had the same dreams, we had the same goals, and we were both growing independent of each other. We were both working on ourselves. So when we came together, instead of, you know, how people say, well, two halves become whole and you complete each other. No, we came in whole because we were working on ourselves before we got together. So then when we came together, it was more or less, we built this family and this relationship where we had some serious talks. And a couple of those things were, we made a decision, we made a list, interestingly enough, when we first got together. And we had those things that were negotiable and those things that were non-negotiable. And so he knew what my non-negotiables were, and I knew what his non-negotiables were. We also decided how we would handle certain things, like never going to bed upset with each other. And if there's something, he always said the one thing that he had a challenge with in many of his past relationships is when something's wrong and he knows something's wrong with that person, but he's asking, what's wrong? And they're saying, nothing, I'm fine. And we made a decision. If he ever asks me if something's wrong, I have to be authentic and honest and tell him exactly what's wrong so we could discuss it. Because his view is communication is the key to solve everything. Right. So those are some of the things that we did. We made a decision to communicate at all times. He's my best friend. When he does stuff where, you know, times get hard and we have challenges, instead of, I've seen some spouses, you know, beat that person up and tell them, oh, you need to do something different. Oh, I don't know why you're still doing that. We motivate each other. So if I'm down, he's my biggest motivator. And if I'm down, and if he's down, I'm his biggest motivator. So we're constantly motivating each other and inspiring each other.
Right. And that goes with, like you just said, you guys, he's your best friend. And I love that. My husband is my best friend too. And we were just talking about this. My husband I know he's going to die if any of his friends hear this episode. So ladies, keep this to ourselves. So he just went to Cuba on a boys trip. Right. And so I told him while he was there, don't call me. I said, because all your friends are not going to call their wives and they're going to talk about you because you calling me, and we actually like each other. And so we want to keep each other up. It's not, you know, we don't, you know, have to keep tabs on each other. It's not like that. We want to call each other because we want to keep up. Right. And so it's the first time I've ever done that. Right. And so when he came home, we both were like, oh my God, we've never gone that long and not talked to each other. You know, we just had this moment and we laughed about it. And he was like, show me every picture. And we laughed about it only because I said to him, I don't want them to tease you and talk about you because you want to call your wife every 20 minutes. Not because you have to, but because you want to.
You want to. That's the difference. Absolutely. Steve and I, we do the same thing. Every time I leave the house, my kids laugh because I can't get out the neighborhood without calling him because, you know, hey, baby, anything, or hey, da, 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 da. And my kids think it's hilarious. But, you know, my husband made a statement the other day. He said, you know, I want us to live our lives like it's a documentary for our children so that when they look back and they watch this documentary, they can say, my mom and dad were some amazing people. And that wasn't the word. He actually said, and I want them to look back at their dad and say, he was a bad, you know what.
I know that's right. I love it.
So that's it. Live your life like it's a documentary for your kids to watch one day.
Yes. And I love it because, you know, really your business is built on the foundation of a relationship. And because both of you guys were strong, and I love, and you and I have so much in common because literally every man I dated before, my husband did not get that I was whole and complete and I don't need you. Not in a negative way. Right. But I don't need you to complete me. And so I don't, and I don't have to compete with you, and you don't have to compete with what I'm doing. We're supposed to complement one another, but no man could get that before my husband. Right. And so the beautiful thing that I heard you say is that you were already full and complete, and your full and complete came and met his full and complete. And together, you know, just think of what two wholes make a impact like none other, number one. And then to have that strong foundation and to go into business with that, you have equal partners that have each other back at every decision, even the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, the stuff that don't feel good. You know, you guys have each other's back regardless. Love it.
You know what I realized too? I realized that I can only make him as happy as I am. If I'm not happy with me, then how am I going to make somebody else happy? If I don't love myself, why do I expect someone to love me more than I'm willing to love myself? So I had to fall in love with me, my flaws and all. And people don't understand that falling in love with yourself isn't arrogant. It's not superficial. Falling in love with you is the most important thing that you can do, because the more that you love yourself, the more you allow yourself to be loved. Right. So when I walked into the relationship, I'd already worked through my issues and my challenges, and understanding that, yeah, there's some things in my past that I had to deal with. Either I was going to continue to try to live my life looking back on all the crap that happened in the past, or one day I was going to say, you know what, that was then. There's nothing I can do about it. And now it's time to work on me, fall in love with me, and understand that every single day I'm a flawed human being. I'm going to make mistakes. And if I'm not making mistakes, then that's an issue, because that means I'm not growing, I'm not stretching, and I'm not taking any risks.
And what you just said is totally the landscape. If I had to give a title to your story, right? Because literally what you said is you failed more. You've learned in every moment of failure. So even in your own personal relationship, as well as in business, every failure is an opportunity to grow. You don't quit, you get better.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Every failure is an opportunity to grow and learn. And I tell my kids that every single day when they come home from school and something has happened and, they're crying. And I say, listen, and it doesn't even matter. You know how some parents, they get so caught up in, like, their child can make all these A's and they can bring home 1 D or 1 F and the parent freaks out. And I've never understood that, because I understand we want our child to do well. But okay, so they got a F on something. Either A, you can beat them up about that, or you can applaud them for all the A's and the B's that they have gotten. So that's what I do with my children. So they're shocked sometimes if they come home and they may have one day where they had a bad day. I'm like, I expect you to have some bad days. That's called growing up. That's called part of life.
Right. I love it. And they learn from not, so many people think that everything has to be perfect. And I love that you also said you're not perfect. You're not ever going to be. I always say I'm perfectly imperfect. Right.
Exactly.
And it's so funny when my husband and I have a moment, I always go, baby, I know you think I'm perfect. And he just falls out laughing, but I'm not. Now you can see, when I mess up something, or, we laugh about it. I'm like, I know you think I would never make a mistake, but guess what? I made one. And we just fall out laughing.
Absolutely. And giving ourselves permission to do that, giving ourselves permission to do that.
Right. God, you've given so much, Pasha. I mean, from standing in your truth to really knowing your purpose and committing to make a difference in this world, to learning through failure and allowing yourself to fail, and I would say you fail gracefully. And the reason I say that is because it's grace that gives you the strength to get up and do it again. It's grace that gives you the strength to learn the lesson and say, I'm not doing that again like that, but then learn the lesson so you can do it different and grow from it.
Absolutely. And, here's the interesting thing about that, because I've said once before that I think this generation, with each generation, we're getting softer and softer. And we look at things, in my opinion, and blow them out of proportion sometimes. Right. And for me, I revert back because my mom, she has really instilled in me what it was like growing up I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. So the heart of the civil rights movement. Right. My mom spent her days fighting so that I could be able to drink out of the same water fountain, so I could be able to walk through a front door. She's been marching when it was 100+ degrees outside and humidity, and fire hoses, water hoses, and dogs let out on her. But she was doing it for a purpose. So if she kept going and her friends kept going and they didn't turn around and say, this is too hard, well, I'd be damn if I'm going to turn around and say it's too hard because I had a failure in business, or a customer didn't want to try my product, or somebody quit the business. Those are the easy things. I look at the failures that I have gone through. That is not a challenge in comparison to what my mom went through. Or then if I wanted to take it a generation back, what my parents went through. So for me, I look at where I am and my little failures as blessings that have been passed forward. So now that's why I teach my children. Now it's your time to make sure that I don't want you to get caught up in this microwave mentality and this superficial world that the world is promoting. I want you to look down deep within yourself and ask yourself, the day you leave this earth, which we will all do, will it be a better place because you were here? And if the answer is no, we have some work to do.
Woo! And don't we have some work to do? And so, Miss Pasha, you've given us again so much, and I want to leave the listeners with this. And I'll ask you one more question so you can close out. But failures as blessings passed forward. That is so good. So my question to you, all of you that are listening, I want you to think about every failure, every moment that you fell down, every moment that you messed up, every moment that you thought that it was a complete failure. And how can you look at that as a blessing that you passed forward, or that you can pass forward if you haven't passed it forward yet? That right there is whew, that's good. So as we close out, if you could share like the best advice or best insight someone has ever shared with you, and you've already given us a number of great ones that your mom has given you, but if there's any last piece of advice that you've ever received someone that you want to share with the ladies to close out, what would that be?
I think my best piece of advice is, as a parent and as a mom and just as an entrepreneur in general, that my kids are always watching. They're always watching. And when I say your kids, whether they're, if you have challenges and you fall apart every time you have a challenge, your children, they see that. If you are the kind of person where your friends come in your presence, and as soon as they walk out the door, you're talking negatively about them, your children are watching that. Yep. If every time you try a business and it gets hard and you quit, your children are watching that. But yet we're telling them every single day, don't quit. Get back out there on the basketball court. Go back out there and try out for cheerleading again. And we're telling them all the stuff that we want them to do, not understanding that they're not listening to what we're saying. They're watching what we're doing. So I live my life like that, like everything that I do, how I interact with my husband. If my husband and I were fighting and fussing, guess what? My children are seeing that. So what starts to happen is they start to think that that's what a relationship is supposed to be like. So I'm very conscious every single day to be authentic and open. I want my children to see the good as well as the bad, because you don't put on the facade of the good, because then when bad things happen to them, they don't know how to get through them. So I allow them to look behind the curtain and actually see when we're having challenges, how we're getting through them.
That's good. Well, Miss Pasha, you've given us such a light. You are such a light on the path for others to follow. And I want to thank you for your commitment to be authentic, to learn from failure, and to use your failure as blessings that you are passing forward. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Nicole Roberts-Jones. It's been a pleasure, and I've been wanting to connect with you so much, and I am so proud of you and admire everything that you have done. I've watched you for many years, and it's an absolute honor to be on your podcast.
Now, don't try to make me cry on this podcast, girl. I'm not going there with you. Thank you, Pasha. I so appreciate you.
Love you, girl.
Love you too. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Fierce Files. Now, I want you to walk away from these episodes with value, so grab your pen and answer either one or all three of these questions. Number one, what was your greatest takeaway? Number two, what would you do differently as a result of what you heard? So you may have heard something you've already heard before, or you may have learned something new. Either way, don't take the insight that was shared with you for granted. So commit to doing one thing different because of what you heard. Number three, what was confirmation for you? What did you hear that confirmed you're on the right path? See, I want you to take a moment and celebrate you. Too often in our journey, we focus on what we're not doing and we forget to celebrate what we are doing. So what was something that showed you that you're headed in the right direction? Now, I want you to share your answers. Share your answer to either number one, what was your greatest takeaway? Number two, what would you do different? Or number three, what was confirmation for you? And share it in our Facebook community. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com and use the hashtag FierceFiles. Now, each experience we encourage, support, and celebrate as a community. It allows us to expand in possibility and wisdom, in encouragement and love. Now, we've invited you into our community to deepen our journey with being the answer someone needs and in being committed to your next level. So until the next time, be extraordinary, be unapologetic, be bodaciously you, go and be fierce.